Hello and welcome to the show No Skips, where we talk about albums that we don't skip any songs on. Today's album comes to us from the year, and I got to look at my phone for this one, 2003. Came out in February of 2003 from a West Coast band, Switchfoot. Yeah, Switchfoot. One of those bands that I really enjoy a lot of their stuff, but I found out about them because of this album called The Beautiful Letdown, which I got to tell you, I disagree with the title because it wasn't a letdown. Wasn't a letdown at all. It was a great, great album. It was a no skips album, that's for sure. 44 minutes long is the album. It has got 11 songs on it. Okay, 11 songs on it. And single-wise, they ended up putting out 6 different singles off this album. So I want to say over half of the album was singles. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good sign that your album's doing well. And this is one that we'll talk about, kind of how they're celebrating this album actually right now. Switchfoot is. We'll talk about that towards the back end of this episode. But let's get to those singles because that's where, a lot of people recognize this album from. So first up, More Than Fine was the first single that came out from this album. Then came the big one. The big song off this album, Meant to Live. That is the one that starts off with a guitar riff on it that was very popular. And I feel like a lot of bands have tried to do something similar to that guitar riff in their songs moving forward. You know which one I'm doing. I'm not going to pretend to play air guitar for you at this moment in time, but you know the riff if you hear the song, okay? But Meant to Live, that was a good one. Then they came out with a song called Gone. Then they came out with Ammunition. Dare You to Move was another big hit for Switchfoot. And then This Is Your Life, which was actually featured in Smallville, of all things, and was also a really good hit for them as well. So those were the 6 singles off this record. As far as my favorite song from this record, it's actually Gone. Yeah, Gone is my favorite song off this record. It basically talks about how we're not all here for a long time. We're here for however much time we got, and we shouldn't be waiting to do things or waiting to, take life by the horns, that type of messaging. And if you do wait, it's going to be gone. You're going to be gone, So I love that song. That's a song that I like to play a lot from them. I also like to play another song, which is not on this album, but I'll just mention it real quick. New Way to Be Human is another great song by them from an earlier album. I enjoy that one as well quite a bit. But to go back to this album, again, no skips on this album at all, in my opinion. I love this because it's rock music, but it's not depressing rock music, if you get what I'm saying. And don't get me wrong, I like some depressing rock music. You'll see me talk about some of that on the show at some point. Those songs where it's like, I lost my girl, I lost my truck. It's almost like country music in a way, but like grungier, if you get what I'm saying. But Switchfoot doesn't really have those type of songs. Like all their songs are kind of uplifting on this album, which is funny because the album is called Beautiful Letdown, but the songs are uplifting. Take that for what you will. But like I said, no skips on this album. It is 44 minutes long. It's worth it, especially if you want to check this album out. But I want to talk about how they're celebrating this album. This album came out in 2003. It is 20 years old. And Switchfoot recently decided that they are going to go out on tour. In fact, I believe they're actually touring right now. And what they're doing on this tour is they are playing this album front to back. And you're seeing a lot of bands that were popular in the early 2000s do this as a way of honoring the albums that made them famous. They'll go on tour and they'll play nothing but those songs. And I got to tell you, I like that. I know some people don't like that. They look at it as like a money grab or whatever. I enjoy that. And I enjoy that for this reason, okay? If you love an album by a band, the one thing that sucks is whenever you love an album so much, but you never got to see them perform that album live. That sucks. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to see Switchfoot when they had this album out. So I remember what that concert was like, and there is YouTube footage of, a bunch of those different concerts from that era that you can go watch. But there is nothing like actually being there in the crowd and hearing them play your favorite songs. So for those folks who were not, financially able to do that, I actually saw Switchfoot as a part of a Christian concert where they were not the headlining band. They were, like a supporting act that night. So I kind of lucked out on that. My dad took me to that concert and I really enjoyed it. But anyway, if you weren't able to do it at the time, to be able to do it now when we got adult money, I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, right? So I never get mad at the band when they want to do that. I enjoy when a band does that. And I love the fact that they're doing this with the beautiful Letdown. Now, the other thing they're doing, which is kind of cool, is they are actually, they already did it. They re-released this album, but what they did was they actually got their friends, other musicians that toured with them, that had relationships with them, to do versions of these songs by those artists. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. I'm not, vouching for how the songs sound or anything, but it's pretty cool when you have, your friends who are also musicians say, hey, can we have a crack at that song? We want to honor you by covering your song. Like, that's when like you've done some good things in the industry, when you have friends that want to remake your song that you're going to make money from. That's pretty cool. So you can actually check out Switchfoot, The Beautiful Letdown. You can get a version of it that's basically all cover songs of this album done by artists that were friends and are friends with Switchfoot. And then you can also just check out this album as a whole because it is a great one. And check out Switchfoot on tour if you get the opportunity to. Now, with all that being said, if you have never heard Switchfoot before, chances are you probably have, you just didn't know who the band name was, right? But if you haven't heard them before, this would be the album that I would point you to. This is the one I would say, sit down, spend the 44 minutes and listen to this record. And if you end up liking it, you're going to like all their other stuff. Okay. If you don't like it, the other stuff may or may not, win you over. But I will say, earlier stuff, they were trying to perfect their sound. And I would say, personal opinion, they perfected that sound on this album, The Beautiful Letdown. So make sure you check that out. Again, 44 minutes long, came out in 2003. It's a big deal right now. If you go to any of their social media accounts, you will see them talking about this album and the tour they're doing and all that good stuff. So you really can't miss out on it. It's a perfect time to listen to this one because of all that stuff going on. So make sure you check that out. And if you do, and you skip some songs, you let me know what songs you skipped, okay? And if you listen to it and you didn't skip any, let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe as well, my friends. I have to say it because that's what we do here on YouTube. And I know I'll also post this on TikTok, so do whatever you do on TikTok. But I got to say that because we're trying to build this thing, right? We're trying to build this thing, and liking it and subscribing, it's free to do that. And it helps me out way more than you guys know. Okay. So please do that. And until next time, my friends, be good to yourself, be good to others, and I'll see you soon.